Hey guys, welcome back to another week here with us at the Handy Creators. Thank you so much for joining us. If you saw our last video, we are back on YouTube and we have absolutely no intention of going anywhere. So if you missed out that video, make sure to click the video above where it goes a little bit in detail as to where we've been, what we've been up to, and what we have planned for the new year. But as we mentioned in that video, we know that we've been absent a bit here, so we apologize for that. But in the process, we did film a few videos of little builds that we did, and we are super excited to show you. This is one of those first ones. So in this video, we will be showing you how we built a beautiful accent table using Poplar, which is a softer hardwood. It is more affordable, but it still gives you that beautiful grain that everybody loves. So we will be showing you how we built this a few months ago and basically the whole process from start to finish. Let us know in the comment section below what we should build next. And with that, I think we should just get started. Let's go. Okay, so obviously when you purchase wood, it looks something like this. A little bigger, a little smaller, but the first thing we need to do is cut it down to size. The reason we do this is because we want to make the milling process as easy as possible. This wood does have to go through 2 or 3 different machines before we can even start the project. So we want to make this as easy as possible. We do want to preface everything by saying that we apologize if you hear a little bit of background noise. As you may know, we live in Florida and it's very hot here. So we do have an industrial sized fan in the corner to which we can never live without. So again, if you hear a little background noise, we apologize. But the first thing we're gonna do is cut this down on our miter saw to more manageable boards. A tip that we have learned along the way is that you want to make those first cuts bigger than what you will actually need the final dimensions to be. These are called rough measurements. What we mean by that is right now, I'm gonna cut this longboard into smaller pieces, which I will run through our joiner and our planer. And if, for example, you want the final piece to be 22 inches tall, we always give ourselves about 1 inch of extra wood. That way we can correct it and make sure that it's perfectly square at the end once it's all planed, jointed, and completely milled. Believe me, in the past, we have cut things down to the exact measurements and then we would have regretted it, causing us to start the project all over or adjusting the initial design. If you're building this for yourself, that is something that you may be able to do, but we try to shy away from it because these designs are specifically made in a certain way for a certain reason. So let's cut this down, make all the rough measurements, and then we'll jump on over to the joiner, as that is the first machine that all this wood touches before we can continue the milling process. All the wood cut down to rough measurements, it's time to start the whole milling process. What we're gonna do is run everything through the joiner. This is the first machine that the wood touches to get that first smooth face that we need to continue on the milling process. So what we're going to do is we are going to grab a piece of wood, run it like this, and what this does is that as we are running the wood through, the cutter head is eating at it evenly to ensure that we have that smooth finish and there's no cup, bows, or twists. Once that's done, we will go ahead and flip it over, and then we're going to get a perpendicular side to ensure that we have the first 90-degree angle that we're going to need to get perfectly surfaced wood. So let's do that and then show you what we do after we have those 2 edges. Okay, so this is the difference between a milled board and not a milled board. As you can see here, you can actually see the grain of the wood, and you'll kind of sort of just feel how the wood is just smooth and flat as you touch it, versus this side, which you're gonna feel the grain. This is completely rough sawn lumber, so this is not something that you can use just like this to build furniture. You would need something more like this, especially if you're going for that high-end look. So now that this is done, let's go ahead and fix this edge. Okay, and just like that, we're done. And as you can see here, we have a perfectly smooth surface, which would be this side, and then we have a perfect perpendicular one that is going to ensure that we have perfectly square boards. Now that that's done, we're gonna go ahead and take out another machine, which is our planer, and then we're gonna even out this side so that we have two smooth faces, and then the last thing will be to clean up this edge. Many people ask us whether you can just simply grab a sander and do all of this. And honestly, the answer is you can, but you're not gonna get square boards. The reason being is that when you're using a sander, there's a lot of different pressures that you apply as you are sanding that won't allow you to get that perfectly smooth and straight cut that you are looking for when building furniture. So a sander is definitely something you can use if you're looking for something more rustic, vintage, or something that is going to be more that, like, I would say rustic design, but that's not today's video. Something else that you can do if you don't have these machines and don't have the space or the budget to purchase them, you could always purchase fully surfaced lumber. It is going to be pricier than going this route, but it's one of those situations where you have to pick what's best for you. So let's run these to the planer, cut them down to final dimensions, and then start to glue up. With the boards surfaced on 3 sides, we are going to trim the last side, and that way we can have the perfectly square boards. To do that, we're going to grab our boards, grab the side that we ran through the joiner, and put it up against the fence, and then run it to trim this side that has not been touched. Now, one thing that we would always advise is make sure to check your machines for squaring every single time you're going to use them. We've had histories in the past where we haven't done this, and next thing you know, our boards are not straight. So what we do is we grab our level and we're gonna place it right up against the blade just to ensure that it's square. It is perfectly square, so we are able to run these boards and know without a doubt that we're going to get square boards.
So now we have everything cut down to size, everything's milled and ready to be glued up. We do not want to just put glue on this and put it together. So before that, let's take a closer look at what it is that we want to do. That way we have a seamless, perfect glue and no pressure and rush when the glue is added on here. Get closer. So a lot of these pieces are still cut a little bit bigger to size because once everything's glued up and done, we like to cut it down to its final dimension. That's why you're gonna see stuff like this. So we definitely know that this board is gonna have to be outside, on the outside. We can't glue it to another board. So what we like to do is look for a nice pattern, but also for the best fit. Okay, so I have the 2 panels that I like together and we're gonna mark them. And usually, I mean, if it was more than 2, I would usually do like 1, 2, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. That way you know exactly. And the reason we do the line, so let's say I like it right here, okay? I'm gonna do a line. That way when I'm gluing it up, I know exactly at what distance I like them together. Because sometimes if you have one longer than the other, they look different when you scooch them. So I like this one specifically right here. Remember when you do a lot of cuts, you have the in-out method. So no machine ever gives you like a perfect straight cut. It usually gives it to you a little slanted. So you always want to try to flip the boards over. That way they fit into each other. That's why it's good to flip them back and forth and see what matches nice. Or you can just be a normal person and mark what side we did and not have to flip it over for 2 hours, but that's not this channel, you know. Okay, let's go glue this up. So here's a close-up of the actual glue because I feel like a lot of people don't put this part of it because it's not as pretty. But this panel right here, you see all of this glue. Sometimes what I like to do is kind of just spread it out a little bit That way I could really see the connection. Sometimes if you don't put enough glue, the glue won't come out and you'll still see like the connection a little bit. So what you want to do here is make sure to add more glue. So obviously no one likes sanding, and if you do, let me know below because I would love to learn from you. But sanding is one of the most like tedious jobs, but honestly it's very, very important for your finish, because once you seal stuff, like every imperfection
becomes visible.
Hi, I'm here. So we wanted to give you guys a little tip. Something that we do is I don't know if you can see it from there, but we like to draw like lines on the stuff. So pencil, make sure it's always a pencil. Don't like get a Sharpie or anything.
No, we made that mistake once and it took us hours to get it out of the way. Yeah, with the dining table.
Really?
Yes, we did it.
Oh, because we marked where to make a cut. Yeah. So pencil, and very lightly. Like you don't have to like, very lightly. It's just a light. I don't even know if you can see it on there because of how light it is, but yeah, so very lightly, because the point of the whole line system is just so you have like an even sanding all throughout and you don't miss parts, because again, once you seal stuff, like you will be able to tell if you missed a part. Something else that we like to do is, if one of your edges is going to be connected to another edge, we don't sand that. When you make a cut, you're getting a 90-degree angle, right? So that means that when I place this on the floor or towards something, it's going to be completely straight. Now, you come in with your sander and you're always going to lose that sharpness. And when something's being glued to another item, you want that sharpness, because even if you take away like 1 degree of that 90, when something's glued together, you will be able to tell. Or even on the floor, yes, it might not limp or anything, but you will be able to see that there's a little tiny gap. So if for us to get that perfect glue up or just flushness on the floor, we do not touch the side that's going to be towards something. Now, sometimes there's little fuzzies when you cut it. Something that we like to do is with like a hand block, we kind of just do like rough motions and take it off, but we don't sand it. So if you see there's some burnt marks from the blade, we don't care, because that's going to go against something. And if you see right there, that's like perfectly flush. Like there's no gap, nothing. So that is something that we like to do. I mean, it really is optional. Like if you feel like you have to sand it, then sand it. But we only sand the parts that are going to be visible. That doesn't mean that you're not going to sand the bottom, because you want everything. But if something's going to be connected to another board, we do not sand.
Okay, so here comes the most stressful part, which is actually putting this together. This is the best method that we have found for doing these glue ups, I would say, for putting dowels. There are machines out there that can do this for you, but unfortunately we don't have them at this time. And this is what has worked out for us in other builds. It still is very stressful because there is a room for error. So I'm a little nervous, but we're gonna hope for the best and see if this works out. All right, let's see. And it worked. It worked. So, like we said, this is the method that we've tried until now. And so far, every time we've done it, it has worked out. So, let's take this apart and stain it and then do the final glue up.